We welcome you to join with us in celebrating 100 years of the Angus Society of Australia at this, the 2019 Sydney Royal Easter Show Angus Feature Show. The Angus breed has a long and rich history within the Australian beef industry, from the time the first 8 animals arrived in Tasmania, Australia's most southern state, in January 1824, to now as we celebrate 100 years of the Angus Society of Australia, with over 125,000 females retained on the female inventory. The Angus breed also has a long and rich association with the Sydney Royal Easter Show, with records showing that Angus or polled Scots cattle were first exhibited at the show in 1875. Since this time, the Angus breed has achieved a lot at the Sydney Royal Easter Show, and in the modern era of interbreed awards, the Angus breed has won the Horden Trophy for Supreme Interbreed Pair 11 times, the Stanhill Trophy for a team of 3 purebred steers 5 times, the Urquhart Trophy for Supreme Interbreed Exhibit 3 times, the RAS Supreme Interbreed Heifer Award 3 times, and the Gordon Fuller Memorial Perpetual Trophy for Breeders Group Interbreed 4 times. And as you can see out here in the main arena today, Angus breeders from across the country are here to create some more history. Angus Judging will take place across 2 days, with bulls judged from 12 noon tomorrow on the cattle lawns under the Hocker, and females from 10:30 am on Sunday. This will be followed by the RAS of New South Wales Angus Feature Show sale in the Amphitheatre from 5 p.m. The Sydney Royal Easter Show is one of many events across the country that will celebrate 100 years of Angus Australia. You can expect to see the following happening throughout the rest of the year. While we celebrate 100 years of Angus Australia, the last 100 years has also seen Australian beef become synonymous with quality beef around the world. Australia is a country well renowned for beef production, and when people think of beef in Australia, they think of Angus beef. Angus is the dominant temperate breed in Australia, with Angus cattle playing a vital role in the beef industry in purebred and crossbred operations across this great continent, from the Australian high country and snowy mountains in the south to the vast cattle stations of subtropical North Queensland. And while 2019 is a year of reflection, it is also about looking forward to what we can achieve in the next 100 years as Angus breeders. Here we take a look at some of the current programs being run by Angus Australia to ensure we maintain the breed's status as an industry leader.
So the Commercial Supply Chain Program was an initiative by the board at Angus Australia. They became very aware of the fact that all of their involvement has been mostly based on seed stock, and they really wanted to engage much more heavily in the rest of the supply chain. And our 3 top priorities for this program is really making sure that anything that we do is collaborative with industry, that it adds value to all sectors of the supply chain, so to the processor, to the lot feeder, to the producer, and then out the other end as well to the restaurant as far that end. The key focuses really for the program moving forward are verifications. People want to know that if they're buying an Angus animal, it actually is Angus, or if they're buying an Angus steak, it actually is Angus. So really at all levels, people want assurance of that. So we're looking at developing a program called Angus Verified, which will be a live verification of animals that will allow producers to differentiate themselves and give their buyers confidence that their animals are actually Angus, because you certainly want, if you're paying for it and you're paying that premium, you want to get that.
Angus Australia just kicked off their Northern Development Initiative. This is where we're really going to be focusing on, as an organisation, how do we increase the influence and the use of Angus genetics in Northern Australia. One of the initial initiatives of this program was developing a consultative committee amongst our members, so people that have got skin in the game in the north.
I think a lot of people are interested in infusing Angus genetics into their, typically Boss Indicus based breeding herds for a couple of reasons, and probably the 2 main ones that come to my mind are basically the carcass qualities, and look, the other thing is the fertility side. There's no doubt the the fertility in Angus is outstanding. And why we've gone to breeding Angus here is I guess if we just go back a little bit to 20 years ago, we used to be at Brenda at Augathella in Western Queensland, and I ran a commercial operation for Brenda Holdings out there. We put the Angus over our Santa Gertrudis breeders we had there, and look, it went really well for us. You know, easy to finish, easy to turn off, reduced dehorning, easier to castrate at branding.
Yeah, the key objectives of our Northern Development Program are to basically increase the influence and the use of registered Angus bulls and genetics in Northern Australia to benefit both our members and the broader beef industry, and particularly the broader industry. We need to make sure the genetics being put up there are going to be suitable for both the short term and particularly the long term if we want to have a long term influence in the north.
Yeah, well, you're standing in the middle of Arklow, and McNichol Family Trust operates 4 adjoining properties in the area here, about 17,000 acres. We run up to, depending on the seasons, up to 1,200 breeders, and we'd have probably 60% of our bulls that'd be Angus. Try to breed cattle with a high MSA index. Our cattle currently are about 55.6, they average 55.6 grain fed. The MLA want to get that up by 2 points by 2020, so I guess when you think about it, one of the reasons that I did use Angus because they were one of the earliest breeds to use EBVs, and I try and select bulls in the top 25% of the traits that I'm interested in, which is mostly 600-day growth, retail beef yield, marbling, and the bull fertility indices. Well, there's a big challenge for the Northern Australian cattle industry to improve their eating quality. So I tend to use proven genetics of low birth weight Angus bulls, which works well. Yep. I think they've become much more productive cattle, higher growth rates, you know, improved carcass yields. They've certainly increased the marbling potential in a lot of bulls. And their emphasis on fertilities, you know, increased fertility as well, so that, you know, they're very functional and productive cattle.
When I went down to university, I started showing cattle through the university show team, and then met the Golding family of Little Meadows Angus, and it was through them that they encouraged me to get involved in the Angus Youth Program. So yeah, it seemed like just a really good way to meet people, so kicked it off with attending a roundup, and then realised that you can meet all of these people that have the same interests and are really passionate and real go-getters in the industry. Got involved in the scholarship program. Probably the best scholarship I've been on was the Illinois scholarship through the National Judging competition, and that opened my eyes up to a whole other industry, gave me contacts for research professors and leading geneticists over in America. I've then brought that knowledge back to Australia, and that's helped me in my job today. If you want to meet like-minded people and want to have access to some of the best knowledge in the industry and opportunities, then you'd look no further than Angus Youth.
It all started in a city called Bath in the southwest of England, and I started cooking in kitchens when I was 12 years old, so sort of 40 years ago. You look at the restaurant now that the owner, Greg Maguire, has, you know, invested a vast sum of money in making a restaurant where you could be sitting anywhere in the world. Here, and we predominantly use Black Angus on our menus because of the consistency and the high quality of the meat that they produce. Angus have done a wonderful job of advertising it. They got ahead of the game, and I think that's why they've been so successful. They seem to lend themselves to meat production. So today the demonstration I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 types of Angus beef that we've got. We've got a nice grain-fed, 150-day grain-fed Black Angus from Jacks Creek, a Scotch fillet, which you can see the nice like the marbling. And then from Paul Avery at Ford's Butchers, his pie animal beef. These are all grass-fed. Take both the steaks. When I season them, I just season with salt. I don't put pepper on it purely because pepper will burn. So we pop the steaks on. As you can see, I haven't put any oil on it. There's no need because of the fat on the steaks. This will sit here quite happily for a few minutes.
And after we finish celebrating the centenary, our focus turns to the world as Angus Australia hosts the World Angus Forum in 2021.